Last year, I experienced a day and night that still sends shivers down my spine. A colossal storm had descended upon my city, forcing everyone indoors under a strict lockdown. Torrential rains turned streets into rivers, and fierce winds tore shingles from roofs and shattered windows. Alone, I hunkered down in my home, glued to my phone, following the escalating chaos outside. Around 5 or 6 p.m., the power began to flicker ominously. At first, it was just a few brief blackouts, but soon the lights went out completely. I waited in the dark, hoping for the electricity to return, but as the minutes stretched on, I realized it might not come back until the storm had passed us. The only light now came from the dim glow of my phone screen as I scrolled through news updates. Suddenly, a heavy knock reverberated through the front door. The sound was so startling amidst the roaring storm that my heart leapt into my throat. It seemed impossible for anyone to be outside in such ferocious weather. I froze, debating whether to check. Could it be a neighbor in need or something more sinister? Gathering my courage, I peered through the peephole. No one was there. An eerie unease settled over me. Returning to the living room, I opened a window slightly to let in the minimal light from outside. Without power, my phone was my only source of light, and it was rapidly dying. Suddenly, I heard a faint voice. Whipping my head around, I strained to listen, but the voice had vanished. Was it just the wind? Before I could convince myself otherwise, the voice came again, clearer this time. It was unmistakable. I rushed to a nearby window and peered into the inky darkness. A flash of lightning illuminated the scene for a split second, revealing a shadowy figure standing not far from my house. The darkness swallowed them up again before I could discern any details. Fear gripped me. Who was out there and what did they want? I slammed the window shut and retreated upstairs, my mind racing. Hours passed, marked only by the relentless storm outside. Just as I began to relax, a faint sound reached my ears, the creak of a door opening downstairs. My blood ran cold. Listening intently, the storm seemed to drown out any further noises. I was trapped in my room, paralyzed by fear. Mustering every ounce of courage, I dialed 911, my hands trembling. The wait for the police felt like an eternity. When they finally arrived, over 30 minutes had passed since I heard the door. They found the front door ajar and wet footprints trailing through my home. Bizarrely, nothing appeared disturbed or taken. It seemed someone had entered, looked around, and left as silently as they came. To this day, no answers have surfaced. The storm may have passed, but the horror of that night remains etched in my memory, a haunting reminder of the unknown figure who entered my home during the tempest. It was just a regular Friday night. After finishing a long closing shift at work, I made a quick microwave meal and hopped online to game with my buddies. Equipped with an energy drink and some snacks, I was ready to stay up late. We gamed for a while and I lost track of time. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. "Hold on," I told my friends, taking off my headset and standing up. When I turned around, I realized how dark it was inside and outside, with only my computer providing light. It was eerie for someone to be at my door this late at night. That's when I saw a man staring at me through the window. My stomach dropped as he continued to stare. The man yelled through the glass, asking me a question, but I was too stunned to understand. "What?" I said, walking closer to the window. He repeated himself, asking if I was someone named Jake or Jack. It definitely wasn't me. I shook my head no, and the man walked away, disappearing past my front yard. Shaken, I shut the blinds and went back to my computer, telling my friends what had happened. At first, they didn't believe me, but they heard the fear in my voice. They started asking questions, which only made me more creeped out. Following their advice, I locked all the doors and windows, something I'd never bothered to do before. They reassured me everything was okay, and we went back to gaming. A couple of hours passed, and I had almost forgotten about the incident. I assumed if something bad was going to happen, it would have been right after he showed up. Then a loud knock from behind me nearly knocked me out of my chair. This time, it was definitely from the front door. Whispering into the headset, I told my friends. They advised me to see who it was and call the cops. Quietly, I walked over to the door and looked out onto the porch. It was him again, standing there waiting. I watched for a minute. Oddly, he kept looking to his right, as if at someone or something. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and called the cops, whispering to the operator about what was happening. Another knock came as I made my way back to the door. The man was still looking off to the side. He made a small gesture with his hand before knocking again. The night was quiet enough for me to hear footsteps moving around the side of the house. I followed the sound with my eyes until it stopped right under one of the windows. The glass shifted up slightly, but got stuck on the lock and fell back down. They tried again, but the window didn't give in. A minute passed in silence. I stood there listening to the operator update me on the officer's arrival. Suddenly, a dull sound came from outside the window, like something being wedged into the wood. The entire frame around the glass started moving. I backed away, trying to think of what to do. Suddenly, footsteps ran from the front door to the side window, followed by both of them running away. Moments later, I saw the flashing red and blue lights of the police. Afterwards, there wasn't much the police could do. I gave a detailed description of one of the men, but it wasn't enough. It's been over a year since that night, and there's been no sign of them returning.